Hi guys, I signed up just to share my Neckbeard story. For a while, I tried to decide whether I should or not, but the whole thing was annoying enough that I thought it might do me some good to write it down and get off my chest. This is the tale of Renaissance Beard and how he believed he was a gentleman that was capable of stealing women away from their husbands and boyfriends. I work in retail, so a lot of times I get out of work fairly late. In my neighborhood is a Walgreens store that stays open until midnight. It's the only place close that's still open, but when I get off, so naturally I'm in there from time to time, getting whatever odds and ends I need. They also have a liquor section. I have anxiety, so anytime I can relax while having casual conversations with strangers is a personal win. It also makes me a quick shopper. I get in, get what I need, and get out. About a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, I hired Renaissance Beard. I call him this because I've heard that regularly travels to the fairs and jousting exhibitions. He was also always pitching his weekend medieval LARP troupe to customers. I never heard what they were called, but I'm assuming it was the local branch of Amtgard that meets at the parks of the city. Renaissance Beard was bald on the top of his head, with brown wavy hair that stuck out around the side of his head, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Occasionally he'd get it back into a tiny greasy ponytail. He had black, thick-rimmed glasses over a big round nose. Unlike other neckbeards, he actually had a beard, but it would poof up around his face. He looked about 5'11", but was obviously shorter than that because he would always wear stacked heel ankle boots. One pair I'm sure must have actually been women's because they had buckles wrapped around the ankles with side zippers. I imagine he got them because of the piratey look they had. I don't know why he would want to wear shoes like that for a job where you're standing all day. Of course, he complained about his feet hurting. He was heavy-set, too. His work-issued polo shirt had to be at least 3 times, and was a skin tight on them. As time went on, it would also develop a huge light brown stain on the stomach. He would tie a bandana around his neck, Boy Scout style, and his fingerless gloves were just gray knit gloves with fingers cut off. None of these things seemed to go with the polo shirt, khaki work uniform. When he was leaving for home, he would put on his brown leather fedora and had a pretty basic brown leather jacket. I don't know how old he was, but I guessed mid-30s. Unlike other neckbeards, he seemed to have very good customer service skills. His jolly Renaissance persona seemed to spill into his everyday life, though, because he would communicate with exaggerated gestures and a slightly grandiose speaking style, which I quickly realized was not ironic. He would emphasize things by tilting his head forward and slightly to the side, like he was tipping an invisible fedora. I assume by this point in his life he might have toned it down some, and I can only imagine what he was like when he was younger. I honestly don't remember exactly when he started working there. It was either spring or summer. The first month were such basic, hello, how are you type of interactions that I don't even remember them. All of our conversations happened in the time it took me to place my items on the counter and get my receipt. Also, keep in mind a lot of times there's other customers in line besides just me. I can actually think of every conversation we had that lasted longer than a few seconds because there were so few. For the longest time, I did not even know what his name was. One of our longer conversations happened in October. Funko had released some Five Nights at Freddy's plushies, so I bought Foxy. We had a conversation about the game since he never played it. I told him it's pretty stressful, but there's plenty of playthroughs you should watch on YouTube. Things seemed normal for a while, but I began to suspect something was up on Halloween. I wore my Louise Belcher hat to work that day, so when he saw me, he commented, "Ah, Bob's Burgers, at least we have that in common." We talked about what other shows the voice actors had worked on, and about the Archer crossover. While I picked up my bag and was leaving, he waved his arm and called after me. "Did you know you have a hook on your head?" The little plastic hanging hook they put on hats. "Oh, I know. I forgot to take it off, and I didn't have any scissors with me at work," I answered. "Oh, okay." He slowly lowered his arm and seemed bizarrely deflated by the fact that he dismissed his helpful advice. Weird. I just shrugged it off. Now I'm already seeing somebody. I had been for about 5 years at this point. We'd met about 10 years ago at our first job. We were both working 2 jobs at the time of the story, so we did not have much as time to see each other. I'm personally not interested in seeing 2 people at the same time, so RB's comment about us having something in common may be suspicious. In the following months, he began to recommend food and restaurants to me, like Sprouts Farmers Market. I highly recommend their high-priced sushi on Wednesdays. I began to get the impression that he was trying to portray himself as some type of foodie connoisseur. But some of his recommendations were just normal chain restaurants like Outback Steakhouse. I never initiate any of these conversations about restaurants or food. I cannot even remember how he managed to steer the conversations to whatever he wanted to pitch. The following February, I went in the day after Valentine's Day. "So, how was your Valentine's Day?" RB quickly asked. "It was good. I had to work through." I purposely answered vaguely for a number of reasons. A, I barely even know this guy, so I don't even feel comfortable talking about my personal life, and it's kind of none of his business. B, the truthful answer was not really appropriate casual conversation. "Yeah, my boyfriend came over and spent the night, but I had to go to work, so I'm exhausted." Anyway, I tried to think of phrasing it, so it just sounded like too much information. Sometime in March was his birthday. He immediately told me that Saturday night he was going to be having a birthday party with his friends at a pub in town. "It's going to be an all-evening thing, so people can come over when they get off work," he enthusiastically told me. He then paused and scrunched his face up in the most pathetic look of hopelessness that I ever seen. But he did not actually ask me to go. "Oh, that sounds nice. Happy birthday," I answered. I really didn't want to go, so not only did I work Saturday night, I had to get up early Sunday mornings to go to my second job. Plus, it didn't really seem appropriate to go to the birthday party of a guy that's obviously wanting more. Now, up until this point, things have been fair enough. Somebody meets someone, they like to get to know better, and I probably could have found some excuse to bring up the fact that I already had a boyfriend. Unfortunately, as you will see, that would not matter to him at all. From now on, he would reveal how manipulative and passive-aggressive he could be, and I was not the only girl he had his sights set on. Alright guys, I finally got the formatting fixed on these. So, in this chapter, Renassiance manages to get my mother and her boyfriend involved by trying to win them over to his cause. He tried to orchestrate the whole thing behind my back and succeeds in causing an argument between me and my mom. I began to soon realize that Renaissance customer service mode was really the only mode he had. His other mood was sulking. He seemed to want attention whenever something happened to him. One night, when the store was about to close, he was standing there in his fedora and leather jacket, hanging his head dejectedly. I overheard him tell the other employees standing around him that his zipper broke. One of the older ladies who worked there, poor deared him, and on another night I came up to the register to find him slowly swaying from side to side with his mouth hanging open, slowly blinking, his eyes half open. The whole act was so exaggerated and over the top I almost burst into laughter. But then I realized he was dead serious. Are you okay?
I ate 2 big pieces of Sbarro pizza and I got sick. It's not contagious.
He weakly whispered between pauses with a limp wave of his hand. I really don't remember how I answered because I was too weirded out by this act he expected me to take seriously. Basically, whenever something bothered this guy, his customer service skills suffered. He began trying to compliment me whenever he could. I forgot how he managed to bring up,
"You must get asked for your number a lot."
No, I actually don't," I answered uncomfortably.
"Ah, well, it's their loss. You seem like a catch."
He nodded his head and gestured towards me with his pudgy hand. When I got new glasses, he paused mid-transaction, shook his head, and said,
"I just have to say I really like your new glasses. You have very excellent taste."
Oh, these got uncomfortable. Thank yous. He was managing to toe the line of,
"Hey, why don't you notice I was hitting on you?"
but also vague enough to say,
"I was just trying to be friendly and compliment you."
Arby had never seen me in anything other than my work uniform for around a year. I'm a metalhead, but I frequently get mistaken for a goth. I'm not the most radically dressed, but I still get reactions from people, especially if they've only seen me in uniform. When I went in on one afternoon to buy my wine, I was wearing ballet flats with an Elvira tank top and some black dress pants that had velvet embossed patterns on them.
"Are you going to a concert?"
was the first thing out of his mouth. I stared at him in confusion for a second before I realized it was my clothes. "Oh, no, it's just my day off," I explained.
"I like to dress up as characters on my day off, too,"
he responded excitedly. I'm pretty sure whatever expression I had just froze on my face. A t-shirt and pants is hardly a costume. It was really clear this guy should be trying to find someone who was into traveling to Renaissance fairs as he was. But like other neckbeards,